This work describes a didactic experience developed with a group of future preschool teachers, which involved the performance of theatrical plays for little children. It was a part of the optional subject Fostering Reading and Dramatization of the degree in preschool education in the Faculty of Education and Teachers Training at the University of Oviedo, Spain. The experience was carried out from September to December 2012 with 55 students organized in 11 groups of 4 to 6 people. This task involved designing, preparing and performing plays and storytellings for an audience of preschool children from 2 state schools. The task required students to apply their knowledge of children's theater and to put several skills into practice. As the plays were to be performed to a pre-primary audience, they should be adapted to the interests, likes and comprehension of children aged 3 to 6 years old. This required students to make an effort to adapt to the perspective of the child audience and to make a suitable selection and adaptation of stories attractive and interesting for preschool children. The specific aims for this experience were to learn to plan and carry out a play or storytelling suitable for preschool children, to apply the knowledge of children's theater, to be able to select, evaluate, adapt and create literary texts suitable for preschool education, to know drama and storytelling techniques, to develop the skills of dramatic expression through the artistic and creative use of several modes of expression, and to develop creativity, autonomy, critical thinking, decision-making, and teamwork skills. Firstly, students made the teams and each of them chose the kind of performance they wished to carry out. All the groups worked with existing literary texts, which they selected and adapted in their own way. After they had prepared the dramatic text, students decided on the resources needed, artistic direction, etc., and organized their theatrical representations using resources of dramatic expression such as voice, recorded music, songs, gesture and movement, dance, several kinds of puppets, costumes, masks, makeup, projected images, lighting, etc. Finally, rehearsals took place in Assembly Hall where the plays were to be performed with the lighting and sound equipment to be used. Finally, the performances were carried out in the Assembly Hall of 2 state schools, achieving a high level of participation and interest from the pre-primary audiences. The plays were performed in 3 different sessions aimed at children of 3, 4 and 5 years old respectively. One of the groups prepared an oral storytelling, whereas the rest decided on plays created using different drama techniques: shadow theater, plays with actors, puppet shows, and a musical. The experience empowered creativity, teamwork, autonomy, decision-making, and self-confidence, as well as the development of several competencies. The general and transversal competencies were working in a team, developing creativity, showing initiative. The main professional competencies were expressing oneself correctly, designing and implementing educational performances, and finally, the specific competencies were applying knowledge of literature and children's theater, being familiar with storytelling and dramatization techniques, and selecting literary texts for preschool literary education. According to students' opinion, this experience had enabled them to develop creativity and teamwork skills, to overcome stage fright, to learn how to design and perform a theatrical representation, to become familiar with children's theater, and to develop the skills of dramatic expression. Many also considered that they acquired professional competencies through the design of an activity which could be adapted to the pre-primary classroom and became familiar with certain theater techniques. In addition, they discovered new children's stories which they had not previously known, learned to tell stories, and more generally, developed literary competence. The experience evidenced some weaknesses. Firstly, this was a complex task demanding a big amount of work from both students and lecturer. Despite devoting some class sessions to task design, a lot of out-of-class time was needed to prepare the performances. In addition, the large number of students and consequently of teams involved made it difficult to organize the final rehearsals. Moreover, in view of the limited number of resources available, students were forced to supply their own props or be creative in finding alternatives. Lastly, there were some technical problems with the handling of sound and lighting equipment, as well as stage fright and some difficulties in the use of dramatic expression resources. On the other hand, as regards positive aspects, the high levels of motivation contributed to addressing the problems mentioned above and in particular to learning. At the same time, teamwork fostered a climate of cooperation, mutual support, and interest in the final outcome of the task. Moreover, students were offered the collaboration of two schools which gave them access to their own resources and facilitated, where possible, adequate performance preparation. The students considered that the activity was an opportunity to apply their knowledge about children's theatre in a practical task. Another of the most valued aspects was the direct contact with children, together with the feeling of satisfaction produced by the appreciation of a child audience, which was described in some cases as marvelous. Finally, the experience contributed to the acquisition of new learning and development of several competencies. As a conclusion, the experience shows the usefulness of theatre practices in higher education and their effectiveness in undergraduate pre-primary teacher education. Planning and staging children's theatre performances in an authentic context enables students to put into practice and extend their acquired theoretical knowledge and to develop multiple competencies which are essential for their initial teacher training. The experience allowed students to gain a practical knowledge of theatre techniques as well as of children's theatre and children's literature in general. The performance helped students to overcome stage fright and to improve communicative skills. Moreover, the complexity of dramatic language involved the use of several modes of expression, such as word, gesture and movement, image, etc. As a result, students developed the ability to use other modes of expression apart from verbal language in an artistic and creative way. The complexity of the assignment, group work, and the high degree of autonomy allowed the development of other essential skills for university students, such as creative thinking, social skills and teamwork, decision-making, problem-solving, and self-confidence. Finally, performing the representation to a real child audience fostered the motivation and gave students the opportunity to interact directly with the children. Students' efforts were rewarded by the appreciation of the child audience, and the artistic products were therefore designed with an authentic aim and audience in mind. In more general terms, an assignment of this nature is in line with a constructivist approach in the European area of higher education, since it fosters an active role in students, leading them to construct their own learning. The main drawbacks of a theatre practice such as this are the volume of time, work and effort required, and the difficulty of organizing a large number of performances with limited resources. The experience could be improved, reducing the number of groups and turning the task into an interdisciplinary practice involving lecturers from other subject areas. A collaboration between instructors would enable connections to be made between the learning acquired in several subjects and would increase the time available to carry out the whole project.